seeing Bailey crying in the distance as I walked through the pack house, tears at my heartstrings. And I found myself rushing to her as she walked into the lounge. Any awkwardness that had been between us is irrelevant now, as I pull her close to me, her tears quickly dampening my shirt. "Bailey, what has happened?" I whispered, holding her tight against my chest. So desperate to soothe her, my heart racing with her so close to me. But she says no words, yet I feel her heart racing too as she continues to sob against my chest. I led her to the sofa so we could sit down. I want to be there for her, let her know she isn't alone. I hate that this sweet girl is suffering, and maybe Zion has been right. Pushing her away may result in her leaving the pack. I pulled her back from me slightly, so I was able to see her face and gently stroke back the mane of dark curls from her face. Her natural hair only adds to her natural beauty, in my opinion. Why she feels she should hide it, I do not know. At my touch, she flinched slightly, but her big brown eyes met mine in a nervous gaze. "Sweetheart, what is wrong?" I whispered, lowering my hand to softly stroke her face this time, yet I had no clue why. Bailey's eyes dropped to my hand, before looking back at me through her long, dark lashes, her sobs seemingly easing as she was distracted by me. "Trouble from home," she sniffled. "You know I will help you if I can," I told her. "You don't have to do all this alone." I found myself stroking the soft skin of her face once again, unable to resist. "Why?" she stuttered. "Why would you help me? I am nothing to you. Or your pack. He could hurt you." She wiped her tears away before looking back at me. I hooked my hand underneath her chin to raise her gaze to me. "Did it ever occur to you? It is because I wanted to help you?" I said, my voice a little husky. "Because I care?" She tilted her head in that adorable way she does, before frowning, making me smile. She seemed to have an uncanny ability to make me smile without even trying. Or she had done, until we started clashing a little. "And as for him hurting me, I have my suspicions who it is you mean. But you don't need to worry about me. I will do what I can to defend you, Bailey, and I am sure Caleb would too, if he knew you were in trouble, and he knew I wanted to help." I reassured her, and her face softened at my words, a small smile forming. "I don't understand why you would do that for me," she whispered. "He is dangerous." My hand was still hooked under her chin, so I slid it along her cheek into her hair. But in doing so, I moved her face closer to mine, and she suddenly looked very vulnerable, but incredibly beautiful. Tempting Zion purred deeply. At the scent of her filling my senses, is that not all the more reason? "For me, protecting you?" I whispered, my heart feeling like it wanted to beat right out of my chest. Bailey went to shake her head and speak, but I found myself lowering my finger to her lips. "Shh, you don't need to tell me I don't need to." "I want to," I told her, but my focus now isn't on my words, or what she may have wanted to say, but on the fact of how soft her lips feel to my touch, how close we are to one another, and how good that it feels. I moved my finger from her lip, and now Bailey is gently chewing her lower lip, only drawing my attention to her lips even more. As I find myself drawn to her, suddenly my lips find hers, unable to resist. Gently at first do I kiss her lips, and the feeling sent shivers of delight through my body. And she shocked me as she began to return my kisses. Tentatively initially, but soon she began to kiss me with more need, more desire. The kisses became more urgent as her hand slipped into my hair, gripping it roughly, making me moan into her mouth. Hell, who knew I wanted this girl so badly? Zion is somewhere between purring and growling right now, as Bailey slowly teased her tongue inside of my mouth, finding my tongue with hers. My whole body is reacting to her touch, and I realize just how lonely I have been. Bailey suddenly shifts herself without even breaking our kisses, so she is sitting, straddling my lap, continuing to kiss me with as much need, her hands tugging roughly at my hair, before she allowed her hands to drop to the buttons upon my shirt. Her fingers traced the line of the buttons, the skin underneath reacting to her touch, as goosebumps spread across my body. Before Bailey suddenly gripped the fabric and ripped it open, exposing my naked chest to her, popping buttons off, causing them to fly off across the room. But right now, I didn't care. This girl seemed to want me, and I wanted her. Bailey teased at my tongue with her own, while allowing her hands to slide along my chest, sending shivers down my spine, and pulses of desire ran through me too. I thrust my hip upward, pulling her closer to me to deepen our kiss, while I slipped her tank top over her head, exposing her lacy blue bra to me. This woman was perfection in every way. My breathing sped up at the sight of her womanly curves, desperate to get my hands upon her, but also wanting to take pleasure in every moment I had with her. Asher, I want you so bad, she whispered into my ear, her warm breath making me tingle with pleasure. Heat rushed over me. I felt so warm, far too hot. My head felt like it was spinning at the effect Bailey had upon me, and my heart pounding in my chest. I was sweating. I twisted suddenly, trying to cool myself down as I sat up suddenly, my eyes wide and my breathing rapid as I took note of the surrounding room. I was on my bed, in my room, alone. It had been a fucking dream. All a dream. A realization hit me. Wait, why the hell was I dreaming of doing things like that with Bailey? My heart continued to pound as sweat drenched my entire body, and Zion whimpered within my mind. No, this can't be right. Surely not. Z? I questioned. Work it out yourself, Asher, he snapped, putting the block up between the two of us, my wolf seemingly equally as shaken by the dream we had just had. Work it out myself? Was there much to work out? I had just had a dream about the new girl, and it was hardly a sweet and innocent dream. Holy shit. I had been called to the main meeting room, and I had no clue why. This would likely not be good. Kaya had been avoiding me since the awkward interaction with her father, and I had no idea why. So, I had done all I could to get as many therapy sessions done each day to keep myself busy. I was not used to rejection, and needless to say, I did not like it. Once I was done here, and in my role of alpha, I would come back here, and I would show her what she had missed out on. She would come to regret her choice. I would ensure of that. No woman turned me down. I paced the floor of the room for the 10th time since arriving. I hated being kept waiting, yet these fuckers here seemed to like doing exactly that. I was sick of the familiar walls here now. Sick of the people and the fact that they had become accustomed to me. Though the fact I had allowed my anger to become hidden meant they did not fear me the same. So I did not gain the same thrill from them all. So I gained little enjoyment from being here. I wanted to leave now. Well, in truth, I wanted to leave the moment I arrived, but that was never going to happen. But now my father could not say I had not done as he had asked of me. I had done exactly as asked. I just hoped there were no more requirements expected of me before they were willing to consider my position as alpha. I was 24 and more than ready to become alpha. So many upcoming alphas have taken their positions by this age, and I think my father was just unwilling to surrender his position. He says, I like the power being alpha brings me, and that I gain a thrill from it. But in truth, I believe he adores the power being alpha brings him, which is why he is so reluctant to let his title go. That is why he is holding back on handing me the title I was born into. But he would soon have to make a decision, or others would be asking questions. I had heard nothing more from Ellis since he had called me in my early days here to wish me all the best with my treatment, and to tell me he had every faith in my ability to do well in completing the treatment, and, of course, to inform me of his alpha training. Why would my brother want me to successfully complete my treatment if he had the opportunity to become alpha? He would want the role as alpha, like any sane man would, given an opportunity. Of that I am sure of. I would be interested to know how his training went, and if he was strong enough to pass it. I know he is strong. He is of alpha blood, being my father's son, but I don't believe he is as strong as me. He enjoyed training, but never pushed himself like I had. I doubted he was capable of the things expected of young alphas in their formal alpha training. I truly believed he would fail, and then, where would that leave my father? With no choice but to go with the rightful path given to him by nature. Me. Miles, you are here. Alpha Aaron walked into the room, taking me by surprise. What was he here for? I have been asked here by the treatment team, yet he is not a part of the treatment staff. I was instantly on edge. Yes, Alpha. Is everything okay? I asked, instantly in defensive mode. An experienced alpha, he must have picked up on my feelings as he looked at me with a smile. No need to be feeling on edge or defensive, Miles. Your parents are here to take you home. Your treatment is complete. I took in his words. I was done. Nothing had been mentioned about this to me, yet my parents were here to take me home. My heart was racing in anticipation. I am done? I asked, a smile emerging on my face. That you are, son. The additional therapy sessions you were requesting each day meant you completed the treatment a lot quicker than usual. He told me, as my mom and dad rushed into the room with Kaya by their side, dressed smartly in a simple black shift dress. Her long blonde hair pulled back into a high ponytail, allowing all her delicate features to be on display. Her lips were highlighted in a deep red lipstick, only drawing my attention to them even further. Plump and full, I wanted nothing more than to be able to pull her to me and have my lips upon hers. Kiss her so passionately I messed up that neatly placed lipstick. I found myself smiling slightly at the mere thought of Kaya and kissing her. Fuck, I wanted this girl. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Davenport, Miles has ensured he completed the treatment as swiftly as he could, likely in a rush to return home to you. But we are happy that he has done everything we expected of him. We are happy to discharge him from our care, but that does not mean he cannot contact us for outreach care. If he needs advice or support, he is more than welcome to reach out to one of the team for help, Kaya says with a beautiful smile towards my parents. I saw my mum smile back. Thank you so much. We thought he was a lost cause. And I felt like dying of embarrassment at her words. Nothing like humiliating your own child and making me sound like a fucking monster. This is a woman I want to be with, and my mother is making me sound horrendous. Oh no, you should never think that. Nobody is a lost cause. Miles has done well. He may have days when he struggles, but if he reaches out, we should be able to help him, so long as he remembers the things we have taught him, Kaya said with a smile in my direction, and I felt my heart flutter from her gaze alone. What the fuck is happening to me? I do not get all soppy-eyed over a woman. I'm the sort of guy who fucks them and leaves them, not willing to get into drama with them. All far too much hassle for my liking. Yet this woman seems to have my attention, and I have not been able to stop thinking about her since I met her. Well, you should say thank you, Miles, and we will get going. We have things we need to do, my dad says bluntly, already acting like having to come here to collect me was an inconvenience before he looked to Kaya and Alpha Aaron. Thank you to you both, and all your staff. I looked to Kaya, a smile upon my face. Thanks for everything. I tried to remain casual, though I desperately wanted to give her a hug. Just to be able to hug her, touch her, take in her scent. No problem. Good luck with everything, she said, before turning and walking away, like I didn't even matter. She didn't even seem to care that I was leaving. Had I imagined there was a connection between us? Here is your support pack, Alpha Aaron said, handing me a small bundle. All your treatment papers are in there, along with the treatment plans used so you can utilize them if needed, as well as contact details for staff if you need the outreach support once you are home. Good luck, Miles. I nodded in his direction with a smile, as I followed my mom and dad from the room, my dad already marching his way through the center toward the parking area. He was obviously in a hurry to get away. Right, Miles, we have a lot to arrange when we get home, he says coldly. Oh, so no, well done, son. We are proud of you, I ask sarcastically, a little irritated that neither one of them seemed bothered that I had done the treatment as they had asked of me, with no issues and quicker than expected too, because I had asked for more treatment each day. Why would we be proud? Perhaps if you weren't such a difficult child, you wouldn't have needed it, Dad said as he got into the driver's seat of his car with a snarl, telling me he was far from impressed with the whole thing. So, evidently, this was not enough for them either. Mom, I tried with her, but she shrugged. I am not sure what you want me to say, Miles. Your dad has just had to see another alpha there. Show weakness to him, with his son and his apparent heir attending treatment. It doesn't reflect well on us as a pack. So why would he be proud? Think of it in that regard. I'm afraid it isn't all about you and how you feel. You may feel you have done well doing some therapy, but in truth, through your actions, you have let your pack down, massively. My mother's words hit me hard. Who the hell did she think she was talking to? I feel my anger racing to the surface, but I know if I kick off now, I will be carted straight back into the treatment center. So I push it straight back and take a deep breath, climbing into the car, sitting behind my dad, not saying a word, seething in anger. Now you have done that. I do not expect to see your attitude and anger being an issue. Miles, do you understand? My dad said with authority, evidently wanting to show me who was boss. I clenched my fists in fury as he continued. And now, we will begin the next step of your reprisal. You will find your chosen mate. You will do a tour of all the packs, until we find a suitable chosen mate for you. His words are cold and to the point, but they fill me with dread. I am not going to get a say on this, and I know it. Because if I refuse, I am likely to lose my title. The only other option would be to challenge my father for his title. I flung back my office door, my head still a mess from my alteration to my dreams. I was used to vivid dreams. Of course I was. My nights had been plagued with visions of losing Isla ever since she had gone, causing me to relive the moment time and time again, feeling the pain as the bond snapped, feeling her slip away from me, and the pain as my heart felt like it shattered into a million pieces as Zion crumbled inside of me, never to be the same again. But now, this was something else. This was a dream to betray my fated mate, betray the woman I had been blessed by the moon goddess. I had awoken wanting Bailey. I had woken thinking I was about to take things further with her. And the thing that terrifies me most is that thought in that moment, that was exactly what I had wanted. I had been incredibly turned on. I had wanted her touch, needed her touch. I was disappointed and terrified all in one go. I had dropped back onto the bed, with tears leaking from my eyes at the thought of what it all meant. What it meant for Isla. Did that mean I had to let my beautiful girl go? No, I could never do that. She had been made for me. She had died because of me. Had she not been mine, she would never have been in this pack. She would never have been in harm's way. She would never have lost her life. The pain ripped through me at the thought. She had been meant for me. She had died because she was mine, and I should honor that. Me wanting another woman felt so wrong. I felt like I was betraying all we ever had, being disloyal to our mate bond, despite the fact she was no longer here to respect it, would be the wrong thing to do, in spite of what my body thought it wanted. She had been gone 7 long, lonely years now. 7 long years without my mate. 7 long years of pain. But they would never be enough for the sacrifice she made in being my mate. For in choosing to be my mate, she had chosen a life here, which cost her her life. Just as I stepped out of the main door of the pack house, I saw Aiden pushing her stroller with the new baby. Her face lit up at the sight of me. "Hey, Ash," she greeted me, and already I could see she was so much more at ease now the baby had arrived. I attempted a smile in her direction, but knew I failed miserably when she looked concerned. "You okay?" She pushed the stroller a little closer to me. "See, little Freya wants to know if her Uncle Asher is okay?" I nodded. "I will be fine. Come on, we are going for a walk," she told me. "Aiden, I am busy," I told her. "Doing?" She eyed me suspiciously, and rightly so, because I had been about to go for a walk to clear my head, seeing as Caleb had been back in the office today, apparently desperate for a break from the kids. Though from what I understood, Maddie was spending the day fishing with his grandpa. Fine, I was going for a walk. I rolled my eyes at her, knowing she had already worked it out. "Well, I shall join you," she told me. "Assuming you aren't planning to shift?" I could so easily lie and tell her I was, but in truth Zion has buggered off since the dream and is refusing to speak to me. He is hurting more than he wants to let me know, I think, which truly doesn't help me in any way. "Whatever, Eden, you are about to anyway, I assume," I told her with a shrug. She simply grinned. "Come on then, Mr. Cheerful. You want to push?" She offered me the stroller, but I declined. We walked alongside one another in silence, but I could feel her eyes upon me. "Aiden, if you need to ask something, will you just do it? Because you are making me uncomfortable by keeping looking at me like that." She chuckled. "Something is bothering you, Ash. I would swear you looked ready to cry before. What has happened?" She urged me as we sat on the wall overlooking the pond at the far side of one of the many gardens in the pack. "Shit," I muttered, not really wanting to admit to anything. "Well, why not tell me?" she asked as she checked on her daughter. "I will manage," I shrugged. "Looking at your face and the mood you have been in of late, I would say not." "Has something happened?" she asked yet again. "Are you struggling with things with Isla again?" She reached for my hand. She knew how much I struggled with the loss I felt from my mate dying, not to mention the guilt I battled too. I smiled sadly. "I guess you could say it is to do with that." "Oh, Ash." She leaned her head upon my arm. "Isla would hate that you are struggling, you know that. She also would never see you as to blame for what happened. That was not your fault. That was the rogues, and you know it was. Nobody knew that was going to happen. That could as easily have happened in her old pack before she came here," she told me, and I know her words. They are familiar to me by now. This is a conversation we have had so many times before. One of the reasons Aiden and I get along so well is she and Caleb were the ones there for me when I lost Isla, and they saw the effect it had upon me. They saw how damaged I was becoming, yet they never gave up on me. "What if I am breaking Aiden?" I whispered, and I felt her raising her gaze to look up at me. "In what way, Ash? I feel like I'm falling apart. Like things that I should know, or I feel like I do know, are all in doubt because it feels like my own mind is in doubt. Like I can't trust my own thoughts. I can't trust my own logic. Like I can't trust my own mind. My mind is a mess, Aiden. Things are slipping out of my control. I don't like it," I told her, trying to put into words how I was feeling, and I saw the fear upon her face. "Your anger?" she questioned, but I shook my head. Strangely, This time, it wasn't my anger. That was still there, simmering, of course. I doubted if that would ever go away. But my mind was overtaken with doubt of late. A doubt that I was struggling to trust my own judgment. It was making me question every little thought I had, every decision I made. Whereas previously I was so sure of myself, now I doubted each thought. My thoughts, my commitment, loyalty, devotion. I found myself admitting, in spite of the shame it brought me to say it, "That makes no sense, Ash." "Who to?" Aiden is stroking my hand softly. "You mean to Isla?" she questioned quietly. I raised my eyes to meet her beautiful blue eyes. One thing that I know, Caleb cannot resist about his mate. So unusual and rare and truly beautiful, and something their children had inherited. I slowly nodded, tears filling my eyes. "Oh, Asher." She reached up and stroked away a tear that had slipped down my cheek. "Your loyalty, devotion, and commitment to Isla had never been in question, sweetheart. And it never will be. You have mourned for your mate for 7 years. You searched for the rogue that killed her for a year." After her voice faltered as she looked up at me. I looked down, not wanting to think about that. Those hadn't been my greatest moments. I wasn't at my best, of that there was no denying. It was no wonder my pack feared me at times. "But why do you think it is in question? Has someone been on your mind?" She probed gently, no judgment in her tone, though I feel she likely knew the truth. She had seen herself how I had been around Bailey while she was the hospital. "Aiden, please. I do not want anyone to know about this," I told her urgently, desperate that this is not shared. Gossip had of spreading around this pack like wildfire. She smiled, the familiar kind smile of the woman who had become as much like family to me as her mate had. "I won't say a word, not even to Caleb," I warned her. "I'm struggling with this enough, Aiden. My head is battered. I don't need others knowing and asking me things I don't even know the answer to myself." She nodded again. "Okay, Ash. I won't say a word. But let me tell you this much. Isla would not see this as you betraying her, nor your mate bond. Your love for her will always be there, Ash, but she wouldn't want you being alone forever. You have been alone for 7 years. Do you not think that is enough? 7 years of suffering? 7 years of pain?" She softly squeezed my hand. "Isla would never want her boo to be lonely. Especially not forever, Ash." I sat looking ahead, listening to the words Aiden was telling me, and as much as I couldn't help but wonder if she may be right, it hurts to think like that. Hurts to think of moving on, leaving my mate behind. But I nodded to acknowledge her words, smiling sadly across at her. Though I do have to say, Ash, if you are thinking there is something there, or there could be, do you not think you should be a little better with her? A little kinder? Or else you might scare her away, Aiden says with a playful wink, telling me she is teasing. But her words seem to heavily echo those of Zion, and that scares me a little. Being back in my pack felt so good. The place I was meant to be, the place I belonged, and the place I planned to make my own. Despite not being away too long, it had been too long. This pack was mine, my home and the place I needed to be. This place needed me as much as I needed it. I would be the alpha here. I was certain of that. Of that there was no doubt. But, for some reason, my dad seemed determined to want to have me out of here, before I had a chance to get settled again. Off on this search for the chosen mate they seemed to be craving for me. I did not need a mate to make me strong. I was strong enough on my own, or I would be when I brought Bailey home. I needed her close to gain my full strength that the fated mate brought. That was what legend told us. And that was what I needed. I needed my full strength. She needed to be back home. She should never have been allowed to leave. And I needed to find a way in which to do that. Yet, I had not found a way in which to do that yet. Not with my parents constantly breathing down my neck, or Jordan following me around like a little lost fucking dog, watching my every move. I had not found a way, but I would. And even more irritating was her number seemed to be disconnected now. She had gone, uncontactable now through the number I had for her, telling me that she was intentionally not wanting me to speak to her. So, I needed to speak with her sister. That had been my plan for today. But Morgan was still in a mood with me after our last argument. "Miles!" my dad yelled from the kitchen, and I rolled my eyes from the place I laid upon my bed. The sooner I could move from this hellhole they called a family home and into the Alpha Suite, the better. "We need to arrange these visits. I want to head off tomorrow." He barked up the stairs at me. Wonderful. They really were wasting no time. Tomorrow seemed ridiculously soon. They wanted me marrying off soon. No doubt popping pups out too. Little shitbags, heirs to this great empire of a pack. Well, this mate they are finding me had best be willing to do all the childcare and upbringing, because kids were most definitely not something I wanted bothering with. But I knew I needed heirs. That would be expected of me as an alpha. So, if my mate could deal with them, then we would manage. I would be the powerful alpha. She could be the mother. It wasn't like I wanted the mate. She was more to keep my parents, and to some degree the pack, quiet. It was to gain my title. To keep my power. I just hoped we would find a willing mate on this godforsaken tour. This needed to work. I stomped down the stairs to meet him. "What?" I snapped, taking a deep breath, trying my hardest to hold back the anger that was threatening. It was proving harder and harder to suppress my temper, but I was using the skills they had shown me at the treatment center and battled with my wolf to stop unleashing my rage, in order to allow my parents to think I was happy to go along with this. They needed to believe that. I had to deceive them. Then they would give me the title of Alpha. Once I had my title, I could unleash my fury. And the pack would be brought under my rule. The pack would be run the way it should be ruled. Pack members would wonder what had come for them. My father's rule would begin to seem like a walk in the park compared to me. The thought sent a shiver of a thrill down my spine. I loved the thought of instilling fear in others. That was what being an alpha was to me, the fear, the power. "Are you getting irritable again?" My dad raised his brows at me. He liked to challenge me, almost daring me to snap. I am sure he wanted me to fail. "No, I was busy." I lied. "What is wrong?" I thought we had gone over the plans. Like multiple times. I complained, glancing at the paperwork my dad had on the table. If he expected me to go through them, I could be here for hours. What did we need to go through that would take so long? It was like repeating the same shit time and time again, all for something I didn't even want. We need to finalize choices. There are plenty of things to discuss. "Do you have preference of where we start?" he asked with a smile. Oh, so they were actually asking my opinion? So far, it felt like I had no say. My choice would be Kaya every time, but each time I tried dropping her name in, I was spoken over, and I don't even think they heard me. So, she was soon overlooked. I was lined up to see a number of she-wolves of various rankings across multiple packs across the country. I could be gone for months. This is not what I want. This was only going to delay my title ceremony. But if he was asking for my opinion, maybe I could try pushing my luck. Give him my honest opinion on something. Suggest an idea that I have not been able to get rid of for days now. One that I truly think would work so much better than this lump of shit idea they had. "Dad, do you not think I would bring more appeal if I was the alpha?" I tried. "I will take a chosen mate. For that, I assure you, I will find a chosen mate while we tour the packs." "But do you not think there will be potentially more interest and more volunteers to meet me if I was already the alpha?" I hoped he would listen, this could easily work in my favor. My dad gave me a dark stare, but he looked in deep thought momentarily. Was my plan actually going to work? But he shook his head. Do not be so ridiculous. You still have so much to prove before I consider titles. Are you for real? I roared. I have done all you asked of me, and it is still not enough? I stormed from the house, my anger pulsing through my veins, heading straight for the tree line as I strode away. I needed to get away from him before I attacked him. It was getting so close each time he pushed me to the edges of my temper. My heart was pounding in my chest in fury. While I reached into my pocket for my phone, I scrolled through my contacts quickly to find who I was looking for, clicking the call button. Morgan, I am so glad to hear your voice. I lied to her as her pretty face appeared upon the screen. I was hoping that seeing my face would make her realize just how much she had missed me, and that the sweet talking would make her come around too. She had always liked my sweet talking. I need to see you, darling. I walked through the pack, having left my friends, heading home ready to relax and settle down for the night, when I was shocked to feel my phone vibrating in my back pocket. Not many people actually called me. Everybody used the Mind link in the pack, and as of yet, I didn't particularly know anybody outside of the pack. Unless, of course, you count Bailey. But me and her didn't exactly part on the best of terms after she and I argued. I slipped the phone from my pocket and was shocked to see Miles was calling. I had heard he was back, but I had done my best so far to avoid him. The things I had heard of him had me torn. That did not sound like the guy I had been getting close to. The guy who had promised the world. He had told me stories of me being his Luna, running the pack by his side. I was ready to give up everything to him. Never did I realize he had been fated for my older sister, though his cold words before he left hurt me too. The thought still repulsed me. Yet I clicked to accept his call, unable to resist. I had missed the deep lull in his voice, and the moment I saw his face appear upon my screen, I felt my heart flutter. Morgan, I am so glad to hear your voice, he said, his voice as deep and husky as ever. My heart raced at the sound of it. He was glad to hear my voice? Did that mean he had missed me while he was away? My dad had told me he had told them he wanted nothing more to do with me. Well, he had told me the same. I felt like he had broken my heart. Yet, right now, he was back. He was calling me. Maybe he was saying that to protect me? Yeah, maybe that was what it was. He didn't know how long he would be away or what his treatment would be. I need to see you, darling. His deep voice oozed charm at me through the phone, and I felt like my legs wanted to give way. He wanted to see me? He had missed me then, almost as much as I had missed him then. I gazed at his image upon my phone. He was so handsome. Why could he not have been fated for me instead of Bailey? She never deserved him. Morgan? Darling, you going to say anything or just gaze at me all night? Miles chuckled at me down the phone. I am outside right now, so it isn't like I can give you anything to be gazing at. He winked at me, and I felt myself blushing at the thought of some of the video cam session we had had before things were called off. Sorry, you took me by surprise calling Miles. I thought you didn't want anything to do with me? I explained. Aw, did you really think I could stay away? He teased, slowly running his tongue across his lips, and I felt my heart pounding at the sight of him. You said you would. I say a lot of things when I'm hurting, Morgan. I was scared is all. I didn't mean it. We had a lot of things we wanted to do together, remember? He raised his brow at me suggestively, and again I felt my cheek heating at his suggestion. But I nodded. There were so many things I wanted to do with him. Miles was the most sought-after guy in our pack. He had been for as long as I can remember. He was the upcoming alpha after all, and he was so handsome. If I could be his girl, nobody would doubt me. Nobody would question me. So, You don't want to deny me, do you? Imagine denying your upcoming alpha. He pouted at me. And you would be denying yourself, Morgan, because you have yet to experience all the things I can do. He winked at me, and my whole body was beginning to react to the things he was suggesting. Where are you? I asked, suddenly beginning to wonder where I could find him, and thinking it might be better going to find him instead of going home. That is my girl. He winked again. Meet me up at the gazebo near the lake. I quickly turned around and began walking in the opposite direction to where I had been going, rushing to the gazebo. Going home could always wait. Seeing Miles was definitely more important. The thought of feeling him kiss me, or even better, touching me, sent my body into overdrive. I almost jogged across the last piece of grass toward the path which led up to the gazebo, trying hard to calm my pounding heart, only to see Miles was already waiting for me, leaning against the wooden gazebo, looking ever the powerful future alpha, handsome and strong in the light of the moon, watching me with a smile upon his handsome face. Why, hello, Morgan. His eyes drifted up and down my body before coming to meet my gaze once more. Anyone would think you were in a rush. I felt myself blushing. God damn it, I wish he didn't have that effect on me. Or at least that he didn't know he did, because I knew he would use it to his advantage. I just didn't want to keep you waiting. I lied. He nodded. That is good to hear. You learn quickly. He smirked, almost evilly. I don't like to be kept waiting. He reached for my hand and pulled me toward him, so all I could smell was his spicy, manly scent. My head and heart felt like it wanted to explode as he lowered his mouth to my ear and whispered, I was tempted to wait for you naked, but I was worried somebody might walk by and see. My eyes widened in shock as my cheeks heated at his words, and he chuckled as he looked at me. Aw, did I embarrass you, Morgan? He softly ruffled my hair. If you want to be my girl, you best get used to the thought of me naked. I like being naked, and I expect a lot of things. He wiggled his brows suggestively, narrowing his eyes as if to portray some hidden meaning, and for a moment I was a little scared. Miles suddenly turned his back on me and walked into the gazebo and sat on the seating within it, looking up at me. Don't just stand there then. You are getting pretty boring pretty quickly, Morgan. I am beginning to remember why I finished things. I think he chewed his lower lip angrily, and I began to panic. Is that why he ended it with me? Because I was boring? No, I didn't want that. Nor did I want to be a disappointment to him. Any girl given this choice would do exactly as the upcoming alpha asked of her. This was the most desired man in our pack. Of course, I do as he wants, even if I am a little unsure. He knows what he's doing. I have known him for all of my life. He would never hurt me. I quickly went to join him on the seating and smiled at him, trying hard to act confident. So, you glad to be home? I asked, and I realized the moment I said it how stupid I was, because the look of sheer disgust upon his face spoke 1,000 words. Oh no, I fancied spending another few months there, really. Treatment is like a fucking holiday. Shit, Morgan, think before you speak, will you? He rolled his eyes, turning away from me, and instantly I felt so small and irrelevant to him. Was this how he made Bailey feel? Sorry, I muttered. Whatever, he grunted. Do you have your sister's new number? He suddenly demanded, taking me by surprise. Why the hell would he need Bailey's number? He hated her, right? My dad and my brother had fought so hard to get her away from the pack, or so I am told. It was only recently I had discovered this, because it seems my family are exceptionally good at keeping things from me. But they had done a fucking good job of getting her away, all because of how Miles had hurt her. So why would he want to get in touch with her? Oh, I know you are aware of the problems we had. But, as you know, I have had treatment now. I feel so much better. But me and her were never a good match. I want to apologize for how I treated her, but I think she changed her number, right? His voice was suddenly back to being charming once more as he looked at me, and I could see no anger in his face. He looked like he was being genuine. This would make sense when he had been through treatment for his anger, I guess, and everything he is saying is true. He and Bailey were never a good match. The moon goddess messed up with that mate bond. Of that, there was no doubt. But I sat quietly, unsure of what to do. She had recently changed her phone number. I know that, my mom had told me. Not that I spoke to her, but I did have her number in case I needed it. Darling, come on, you know me, you trust me, right? He slowly slid his hand up my thigh and my whole body shivered in shock. I thought I was going to die from the effect his touch had on me. You like that? He whispered as he lowered his mouth to my ear, teasing at the earlobe with his tongue, making my whole body tremble. Mom, I moaned, unable to stop myself. So, did Bailey get a new number? Miles stopped mid-lick to ask, and I turned to look at him, a little irritated he had stopped, but desperately wanting him to continue, so I nodded. You have her new number, right? I nodded once more, anything so he would continue what he was doing. Yeah, I whispered, my voice trembling as I felt a wetness building between my thighs. And he had barely even touched me yet. He passed me his phone, fully stopping what he was doing now. Type it in there for me. I need to put right my wrongs. That was part of what they taught me in my treatment. He looked at me pleadingly. Then I will see to you. He winked, and I quickly snatched his phone, using my own to copy my sister's number over to his, before looking up at him, ready to have him send me to heaven. But instead, he quickly stands. Thanks, Morgan. Have a good night. And with that, he walked away. Miles fucking Davenport leaving me with tears in my eyes as I realized he had duped me. All to get my sister's number. What sort of fool am I? He never liked me at all. I should have known that. How did I fall for this again?
I sat inside my room, unable to sleep, and found myself thinking of laying out on the sofa in the lounge to watch a film could be good. My small TV in my room had been playing up, and it wasn't like anyone ever came and used the lounge TV. I snuck from my room, knowing there would be nobody about. Other than the occasional awkward avoidance of Beta Asher, I rarely saw anyone in the pack house at night. If anything, there may be the occasional guard. I had begun to recognize them now, and them me, and had begun to chat with them as a way to keep me occupied of a nighttime. Most of them were nearer my dad's age, but I still enjoyed their company and talked of sport the same way my dad would, so it wasn't like I was clueless. But tonight, the hallways were empty. As I slipped into the lounge and picked up the remote control and laid myself out on the large black leather sofa that was in front of the big screen TV mounted on the wall. I scrolled through the films that were available to watch until I found one that I thought I might enjoy, and I put it on. Just as it began, I heard footsteps near the door and I glanced up, only to find Beta Asher glancing in at me, peering over the edge of the sofa curiously. I tried not to smile. I am still alive, if that is what you are trying to check, I said sarcastically because I was truly unsure what he was looking at me for. He chuckled. Good to know, though I was checking to see if you had fallen asleep again. If you had, I was going to bring you a blanket. My heart fluttered a little at his words. I had fallen asleep on the sofa the other night, watching a documentary, and had awoken a number of hours later covered in a blanket. I had assumed one of the guards must have come in and seen me. Doing the dad thing, as that was always something my dad used to do when I fell asleep watching TV, seems it may well have been Asher after all. I pulled myself to a seated position so I could see him properly. That was you? I muttered. Who else would it be? He asked incredulously, sounding more than a little confused. I shrugged. I kind of assumed it may have been one of the guards. He smirked. Assumed or hoped, he shrugged. Besides, they may come in to do a late-night patrol around 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., Bailey. But you had fallen asleep nearer midnight. Nobody would be around the pack house then, or I should hope not. And if they were, they would be breaking in, and I don't think they would be placing a blanket on you because they didn't want you getting cold. I find myself smiling now. He can be the weirdest sometimes. 1 minute nasty. Next minute, ignoring me. Next minute, sweet. His mood swings could give a girl whiplash. Well, thank you, I told him with a smile. I'd say you are welcome, but seeing as you thought it was the guards because you clearly thought I wasn't capable of being kind, I don't know, he said bluntly, and I felt myself a little taken aback by his words. Until I looked up at him and saw his smirking and realized he was teasing. I shook my head at him. You aren't funny, you know. Uh-huh, so you keep telling me. I sarcastically smiled at him, and he chewed his lower lip awkwardly. I will leave you to your film, Bailey. I have work to finish, he said, and I looked at him with a frown. You are working this late? You know it isn't good to be working so late. That is probably why you look so tired all the time. Then I saw the way he was looking at me and realized I may have overstepped the mark with my words and tried to smile sweetly to cover myself. I struggle to sleep anyway, as I already told you, which is why I work more, gives me something to do, and it means we get more done, he told me with a shrug. I sensed a little discomfort from him now, and I know it is likely from the conversation we had when I went to his home. He did say he had struggled sleeping since he lost his mate. I am sure that was what it was. And you cannot tell me you do not work late, because you told me you do, and I have seen you sitting at the coffee table working the other night. He raised his brows at me, and I recalled the night he was speaking of when I brought some lesson plans down to the lounge to work on. As there was more room at the coffee table than in my little room. Damn it. I can't exactly argue with him now. I shrugged dismissively. Fine, Mr. Know-It-All. I stuck my tongue out at him and he laughed. A funny guy and Mr. Know-It-All? Wow, I am doing well for myself? He grinned. Enjoy your film, Bailey. He nodded in acknowledgement toward me before leaving the room, leaving me to sit back into the soft cushions of the sofa, watching him walk away from me, a smile playing upon my lips as I planned to watch my film. A few hours later, I stretched slightly, stirring from my sleep, feeling uncomfortable where I lay, my eyelids fluttering, as I tried hard to pry open my eyes, trying to establish where I was. This did not feel like my comfortable bed. It was only as my eyes slowly opened and adjusted to the darkness that I realized I was still in the lounge, laid out on the sofa. I must have crashed out on the sofa as I watched the film, like I so often did when I watched TV. I looked down to see my body covered in a soft, navy fleecy blanket. I pulled it closer to me, thinking of my earlier conversation with Asher, with a smile on my face. Snuggling into the sofa a little more, I wrapped the blanket tighter around me, noticing then that the blanket smelled heavily of Asher. It must be one of his blankets, I thought sleepily. I drifted back to sleep with Akira almost purring contently, a smile upon my face and the scent of Asher filling my senses. I am awoken early by my father banging off my door, ordering me to get up and get dressed. I have little choice. This is my life now for the next few weeks at least. I must go touring the country, go and meet countless she-wolves I had no interest in. I would rather be here, in Pack, setting things up for when I take over. I know Ellis is due back any day now, and his mate is due home from her visit back home. She had decided to return home whilst he was away, already missing her family, and without her mate here to distract her, she had apparently felt even more homesick. And they wanted her to be a Luna? What a fucking joke. She may be a pretty little thing, but she clearly didn't have the strength needed to be a Luna. She was weak as fuck if she was already homesick for her family and former Pack after a few days here. Truly pathetic. Ellis had his work cut out with that for a mate. The only thing going for her was her looks. It seemed. But I would rather be in the Pack when Ellis comes home. News had traveled through that he was set to pass the Alpha training course. He would be full of himself, no doubt, feeling he was ready to take on the world. Well, I wanted to make sure he knew that while he could pass a pathetic course, he was no competition for me. And by no means did it mean he was ready to make him an alpha of our Pack. I was still leagues above him. I desperately wished I could be here, put him in his place, but I would have to make do with some calls. He would realize his place soon enough. Soon enough, we were in the car en route to the first pack, which was only a little over an hour away. I truly had no energy for this. And my fucking dad wouldn't even let me have a coffee or grab breakfast because I had apparently taken too long in getting ready and kept him waiting. Such an impatient bastard. He was wittering on about having a tight schedule we must adhere to, or some shit like that. He would soon get bored with telling me what to do, I am sure of that. I had my own plans. "Why did you dismiss Jordan?" my dad asked. Jordan had been expected to come along with us to give his opinion on mate choices. He knew me better than most, having been my best friend since childhood, and he was going to be my beta. But of late, he had been distant. I was unsure if that was because he had discovered the truth about how I had treated his sister, or if it was because he was too lost in the lust of having met his fated mate. I wasn't sure. I am sure the novelty of his mate's pussy would wear off soon enough, especially if she was soon to be carrying their pup. He would then realize my single life was definitely a better option, always had been. But at the moment, he was still running around after Gia like she was fucking royalty. Yes, she was hot. Yes, she was likely worth the effort when he got her to the bedroom, but even so, it should be her running around after him. Jordan had his priorities seriously warped, setting a precedent for a fucked up life with her now, and all because he was addicted to her. He would miss his mate. They are trying for a pup, I believe, so it is not the right time for him to be away. I lied, and I saw my father nodding, but in truth, listening to Jordan constantly go on about his mate became tiresome very quickly. And fulfilling my plan would be easier if it was just me and my father here. I didn't realize they were trying for a pup so soon. No doubt it will be Ellis trying too soon enough. My dad said with an affectionate smile, "I think he liked the idea of grandchildren. He'd be disappointed with me then, as I would be in no rush, no doubt," I said with a hint of sarcasm. My dad looked at me with a dark glare. "Though it is you that needs to be having pups if you are given the title, you realize that, right?" "I don't need lessons in how a pack is run, Dad, or what is expected of me. I know what being an alpha entails. I know what is expected of me. I am willing to do it all. That's why I am here, isn't it?" I raised my eyebrows at him, daring him to challenge me on that. He had to know I didn't want this. "You may be surprised, son, but you may actually enjoy this. A little quality time together, away from the pressures of the pack, enjoying the beauties of the country, being hosted by many of the packs. And who knows, maybe you will be pleasantly surprised. You may find a she-wolf that catches your eye and has some serious potential." He said with another smile, "This guy is fucking deluded, I am sure of it." Definitely time he was handing his role of alpha over, because a deluded alpha is a dangerous alpha. He didn't see things that were right in front of him. Missing things meant his pack was in danger. He needed to wake up to reality. And did he truly think I wanted to spend quality time with him? Geez, I think I would rather sit and watch paint dry. I would likely have more fun doing that. "I just want to get it over with, Dad," I tell him, looking out of the window as he continues to drive. "Well, in the first pack, you are meeting the beta's daughter, Adeline. Her mate rejected her. So there is no complication of a fated mate," he tells me, and I rolled my eyes. Fucking marvelous. Some fucking reject that no fucker wanted. Basically, I was being offered another version of Bailey. Bailey? I wondered how she was doing. Her number had been sitting in my phone since Morgan had given it to me last night. I had yet to message her, as last night when I returned home, I had needed to pack ready for our trip. But now she was on my mind again. Her new pack had declined our request for a visit, apparently, making me wonder if they knew of the situation between Bailey and me, or if they simply disagreed on arranged marriages. But one way or another, Bailey likely influenced their decision. Now she was in my mind, I decided I needed to remind her I was still here, still waiting for her. I slipped my phone from my pocket and began typing. "Bailey? So, you thought you were clever in getting a new number, huh? Thought I wouldn't be able to find you? Well, little girl, it seems your plans failed miserably. Because I always get my own way. and you need to remember that. Seems that beautiful little sister of yours squeals like a little girl when manipulated. I let you have your time away from Pack, but I think you have had time now to realize you belong in Lotus Shadow Pack, and you need to come back. Heaven forbid one of your family was so ill you had no choice but to return. As you may have heard, I am touring for my chosen mate, but there will be no chosen mate. I do not want that. You were my mate, the one I didn't want. Yet that isn't to say I do not need the strength you bring me, the power I gain from torturing you. You will return to the Pack, Bailey, just as I demand, and soon. In case you didn't know, it is Miles, your beloved fated mate. I smirked as I sent the message, knowing it was likely to send shivers of fear through her pathetic little body. I knew she was terrified of me, and I loved it. We pulled into the parking area outside the pack house of the Silver River Pack, and I have to say I was already greatly disappointed. The pack was pathetic, small and evidently worth very little. I could see why they were trying to marry off one of their own to an alpha like me, thinking it could bring something good for them. Well, I had news for them. It would not happen. "This is a shithole, Dad," I muttered. "Why would we even acknowledge their offer?" "Miles, we are willing to do what it takes. You need to be willing to meet them all. You may meet the one you didn't realize was for you," he told me with a knowing look. "So come on." I watched as my dad stepped from the car, looking more than confident. Seemed to me that my dad was willing to marry me off to anyone, just to have me find a mate. Thing was, I was not about to do that. He had a plan. I knew that. But my plan was so much different to his own, and I knew that with the two combined it would spell disaster. Yet I followed him anyway. The moment we approached the doors of the feeble attempt at a pack house, the doors opened for a tall, red-headed man to walk out. I could only assume the guard at the gates had mind-linked to let them know we had arrived. "Good morning, Alpha Marshal, and I assume upcoming Alpha Miles?" the stocky man said with a brief nod of his head as if in acknowledgement. I instantly did not like him. He was acting like he was something special when his pack was like a shriveled-up heap of shit. It was a nothing of a pack, yet this man was striding around like it was an empire. "Dick." "Hi, Alpha Owen." My dad nodded at him too, offering his hand out in a handshake. Why he was playing at being so polite, I had no clue. Did my dad not realize that we were offering a massive opportunity in marriage to me, the upcoming alpha of our pack? Yet my dad was acting like they were the ones offering us something, like we owed them something. My temper was rippling, and I could feel my heart pounding. "So, young Miles, you have been rejected, I hear?" Alpha Owen said with a sympathetic smile. He gently pats me on the shoulder, and his touch only feeds my anger, making me want to punch him, while his words make me glare at my father. Is that what they had told people? They had lied to make me sound like the pathetic one? Creating a story to make me sound like a poor, rejected alpha on the hunt for a chosen mate in order to garner sympathy? How fucking dare they? The alpha smiled again before he continued. "It can happen, son, but we have our beta's daughter who has been through the same, so perhaps you and her were meant to be together. A perfect match, both knowing the pain of rejection." I swallowed the bile rising in my mouth. My whole body was trembling now with the rage that flooded through me. My dad had made me sound like a failure for an upcoming alpha, one that my fated mate had not wanted. There was no wonder there had been so few potential mates coming forward. How dare he? My eyes darkened as my wolf jet rippled close to the surface of my skin, ready to take out his anger, but my father's eyes darkened too, likely sensing the building fury within me. "Calm yourself. Do not even think of showing me up, Miles, or all talk of you becoming alpha is done. You are representing our pack now. Do not show our pack up." My father mind-linked, and I knew what he had done. He had done all of this to test me, to test my self-control. He was pushing me as far as he possibly could. I glared at him, wanting nothing more than to fly at him, free jet to attack him, the way he deserved. But I would not allow myself to fall for his plan. This was not going to break me. It was going to be close, but I would find a way to take out my anger another way. "You know what you have done. Do you realize how weak you have made me seem?" I replied to him, and he shrugged. Better to show a little weakness than to show ruthlessness and no self-control. If they knew you had rejected your fated, not one would have volunteered their daughters. If you want to be the next alpha, then these other packs need to see a dominant man. But one that can be in control when needed, you fool. You have none of that, Miles. My father linked before looking at Alpha Owen calmly, acting as if he was dismissing me and my irritation. So, shall we go ahead and meet this fine young lady? He said with a smile. Of course, she is sitting in the gardens with her mother and father. Alpha Owen was now watching me with narrowed eyes. Had he seen my temper rippling through me? As a werewolf, especially an alpha, you had an uncanny ability to detect feelings and auras. If he had sensed mine, I might have been in trouble. He led the way, with my dad and I following him through what they considered their pack house, which in all honesty was little more than a large home. But Alpha Owen seemed proud of his pathetic little empire all the same. Come this way. He led us through the main lounge area to some open patio doors onto a decked part of the garden, where a group of people sat at a garden table. Ah, Alpha, our guests arrived. A tall, dark-haired man stood, nodding at us in greeting, and I could only assume from his aura this man was the beta, making him the father of the woman I was here to see. Of course, Alpha Owen led us to the table, and I glanced around to see a woman about my mother's age with brown hair, and a younger woman, likely my age, looking nervously at me and my dad. Fiery red hair, in loose waves down her back, piercing green eyes with the longest of lashes, which she kept looking at me through as her eyes flickered between me and my dad. She looked terrified. I could only assume this was Adeline. Adeline, Beta Kian, and Rhea. This is Alpha Marshall and Miles. Alpha Owen introduced us. So good to meet you all. Beta Kian offered his hand to us, and my dad, being the suck-up he is, shook his hand heartily, while I looked down at it with disdain, earning me a frown from both him and the Alpha now by his side. Is there an issue, Miles? Beta Kian asked, and I noted there was no sense of fear within his voice. Oh, other than you having the nerve to offer me your reject of a daughter? Not only a she-wolf that her own mate did not want, but a she-wolf from a pathetic excuse for a pack. Do you know what sort of insult that is to an upcoming alpha of a pack like ours? The eyes of my own father and the others all widened in shock, while I heard a gasp from Adeline before she burst into tears and fled from her seat, evidently distraught. I found myself trying not to laugh. Did she truly think she would be good enough for me? I beg your pardon, Alpha Owen demanded. Miles. My father tried to quieten me. I apologize for my son speaking out of turn. Alpha Marshall, you said you were more than happy to meet Adeline. If she was never suitable, then you could have just said, how dare you come and insult her and our pack? I think it was time you left. Alpha Owen almost roared at my father. My dad nodded. I never had any issues with your pack nor Adeline. This appears to be an issue from my son that he had not discussed with me, but believe me, it will be discussed. So please, accept my apologies. He nodded in their direction again before grabbing my shirt and dragging me after him through the house we had only moments earlier been led through by the Alpha. Anger was seeping through every pore of my dad. I wanted to laugh so badly, but knew I would likely end up with a black eye. But it seemed my plan may be working. I had planned to try and get an earlier night, knowing we had an early pack run tomorrow, but knew chances were my sleep would be as challenging for me as ever. I had to do my nightly surveillance of the pack house before going to my room, or that would make sleep even less likely. Despite the fact I knew the guards had come and checked the pack house earlier in the evening, I paced the darkened corridors like I would night after night. It was only as I approached the library that Zion became a little unsettled. Though I was sure as I walked closer I could smell the vague scent of Bailey. Surely she would not still be up this late at night, or I should say early hours. Maybe she had been here earlier? Could that explain the scent? No, she is here. Scent is too strong for it to be earlier. Go and check if she is okay. Zion's voice was almost ordering me. What if she has fallen again? He adds. And at those words my heart was pounding in my chest. He was right. What if she had been in the library and had slipped on the ladder again, but hit her head this time? She could be laid out on the floor bleeding. I quickly rushed to the door, hoping I would not find her injured upon the floor. I could sense Zion's panic as well as my own as we entered the room, only to find Bailey sitting at one of the desks, papers strewn around her, and her head laid on top of the papers. My heart softened at the sight of her. I felt my relief as well as Zion's at the sight in front of us. Goddess knows how long she had been here like that, but whatever she had been doing, it had obviously tired her out, and she had crashed and fallen asleep. Bless her. She looked so sweet, sitting there, fast asleep. "You can't leave her there," Zion told me, and I know he was right. She would have a crick in her neck, I know that much. "I know, give me some credit," I grumbled at my wolf. "I do have a heart, you know." "Well, it is hard to tell sometimes," he chuckled. I rolled my eyes, walking toward Bailey, so I was standing next to her now, but as I looked down at her, I was clueless as to what to do. My gut instinct was to lift her up and carry her to her room, but I didn't know how she would react if she woke up to find me doing that. I gently placed my hand upon her shoulder and softly shook her. "Bailey?" I said, lowering my head to near hers. Was all I gained in response. Zion simply chuckled. "I think she might be asleep," he helpfully pointed out. "No shit." I rolled my eyes at my wolf as I gently shook Bailey once more. "Bailey, sweetheart, it is Asher. You have fallen asleep in the library. Come on, you need to wake up." "Is she dead?" Zion now asked, making me wish my wolf was the one that was dead. His unhelpful comments sent me crazy. There was still no response from Bailey, so I decided I had no other choice but to either leave her where she was and have her wake up in serious pain, or do the decent thing and carry her up to her room. I could see her phone and her room key on the desk, so it wasn't like I couldn't let myself into her room if she didn't wake up to put her to bed. "Oh, what a naughty boy, sneaking into girls' rooms," Zion sniggered. This wolf of mine is more like an annoying brother than a wolf that was meant to give me strength and support. I went to pick up her keys and phone to put them in my pocket before I picked Bailey up, and just as I catch her phone does the screen light up and my eyes are drawn to it to see that there are messages after messages off a number, and while I can't see all the messages or who they are from because there is no name, I can tell from their content is nasty. Evil, and I felt my pulse begin to race. This is her former alpha, her former mate. There is no denying that. My suspicions from the start were right. I know my mind has had me doubting myself, with how my head has been all over the place, but there is no denying it. My suspicions were right. My logic had led me to the right thoughts. It had just been my doubts making me question it all. It had to be him. I clench my fist in anger, and while I can feel Zion's temper rippling, his voice is suddenly there within my mind. "Take her to bed. She may not forgive you for looking at her phone." And I realize he is right. This was compromising her privacy. I dropped the keys and her phone into the pocket of my trousers, leaning forward to scoop her from where she is sitting, and she still doesn't stir. She slipped slightly in my grip as I adjusted my arm position to allow her to lean against me, and she snuggled her head in against my chest, still not waking. She must be tired. I looked down at her bag on the floor and her paperwork and decided I would come back to collect it for her once I had her settled in her room. I held her close to me, finding the warmth of her body oddly comforting, and Zion had suddenly quietened. He felt oddly content, which I find oddly unsettling. He seemed to like the company of this she-wolf. He liked having her close. Yet he went through times of liking his own space like I did. I walked out of the library and through the halls of the pack house with Bailey within my arms. She was still sleeping soundly, her head resting comfortably against my chest as I looked down to check on her with a small smile. Suddenly she seemed to snuggle in a little deeper into my embrace, a smile upon her face, before a small purring noise hit my ears. I paused momentarily as we reached the bottom of the stairway. "Did she just purr?" Zion asked me incredulously. My heart was pounding at the thought. Well, I would assume that would be her wolf, but I think so. I am pretty certain that is what it sounded like. I told him in shock. Did that mean her wolf liked my company? Out of the blue, Bailey shifted again in my arms, and her big brown eyes were now looking up at me. "What are you doing?" she demanded. And I have to say she did not sound too impressed with me. I felt like I was frozen as I looked down at her. Why are you carrying me?" she asked, her voice a little shaky. "Can you put me down, please, Asher?" I gently placed her upon her feet, instantly missing the warmth of her body against mine. While Bailey was now looking up at me, both hands upon her hips, looking awfully irritated. "I think we angered the little bad wolf in her," Zion said with a chuckle. I began, my palms suddenly sweaty. "Look, Bailey." She stood staring me out, her eyebrows raised like she was challenging me. I don't think she was too impressed with me right now. "You had fallen asleep in the library. I tried waking you, and you wouldn't. I didn't want you waking in pain, so I thought it would be better to carry you to your room," I explained, and I momentarily saw her face soften a little as her eyes dropped to the floor guiltily. Maybe she felt bad for shouting at me. Now she could see I had good intentions. Then her eyes darted back to mine, looking fiery again. "And how the hell did you plan to get me to bed? Or into my room?" she demanded, her voice angry once more. Zion was chuckling. "Good luck," he told me. "What do I say?" I asked my wolf, with no clue why I had asked for his help. "Kiss her. That will shut her up," he suggested. Pushing me forward, Zion had pushed forward enough to take control of my body, to make me stumble forward toward Bailey with his words fresh in my mind. Yes, giving her a kiss would likely shut her up, but it would likely result in me getting a black eye too. She looked angry. "Be bold, Asher," Zion's voice urged. "Asher!" Bailey said as I stopped myself knocking into her. I smiled down at her. Shit, it is a long time since I have tried being flirty with a woman. Do I really want to be flirty with her? I don't even think I could. I'm not sure that I know how anymore. "What are you doing?" she snapped. I looked down to her again, my heart pounding within my chest. Hell, she could likely hear that. Most of the pack could likely hear that. Her beautiful brown eyes were glaring at me. I'd like to say gazing, but right now it was definitely more an angry glare than an affectionate gaze. I gently raised my hand to softly run it along the skin of her cheek, and I heard her gasp the moment my fingers touched her face. Bailey's eyes darted back and forth over my face like she was trying to read what I was doing. The angry glare now replaced with a look of uncertainty and confusion. I hated that I made her feel that way. I could see the rise and fall of her chest had increased, meaning I was likely making her panic. "Asher," she whispered. I was mesmerized by her eyes, her skin under mine, until she raised her hand to meet mine upon her face, and I suddenly jolted from the daze I had found myself in. The daze I think my wolf had assisted me in finding. "I'm sorry, I'm not good at this," I muttered, moving away slightly. "Good at what?" Bailey asked quietly. "This," I motioned between me and her. "Zion was saying I should," I faltered, realizing she didn't need to know what my wolf was telling me to do. It would likely not help the situation. "Zion," she asked, a little confused. "Your wolf?" she asked again, and I nodded. She smiled in response. "He tells you to do stuff, does he?" "Akira does that to me. If that is any help, some of the batshit crazy ideas she has had over years are beyond belief. And aren't the wolves we have meant to be our support? Mine has a few brain cells missing, I think." I found myself smiling. She had instantly put me at ease, seemingly without even trying. But, oddly, the way she described her wolf sounded exactly like my own. "Sounds like someone I know," I told her with a smile. "I am sorry for just now. I was trying to help you, that was all. I picked your keys from the table in the library where you were sitting. I planned to take you to your room, lay you on your bed, put a blanket on you, and leave. That was all, Bailey. I wouldn't hurt you. I hope you would know that." Her big brown eyes gazed up at me through her long dark lashes, and she nodded. "I know, thank you." She leant forward slightly, standing on her tiptoes, to bring her lips to my cheek in a soft kiss, and a jolt of pleasure and need ran through me that took me by surprise. I knew Zion liked this girl, but I think I may be beginning to. Then, as I looked down upon her, her eyes looking up at me so sweetly, almost embarrassed, I realized I needed to feel her lips on my own. Just as Bailey began to move away from me, I hooked my hand within her hair, pulling her face back to mine, causing Bailey to gasp once more in shock, but she did nothing to stop me. Her eyes were focused upon mine, her lashes fluttering nervously, as I allowed my lips to tentatively find hers, and as I did, I felt my guards come crashing down. Softly my lips brushed against hers, terrified she would push me away at my forwardness. But to my surprise, as I continued to tenderly find her lips with mine, she began to return my kisses. Did she want this too? Hell, I think I had been surprised at how much I wanted this. An unexpected warmth spread through my body as I felt Bailey's hands reach into my hair, gripping it tightly, making me moan against her lips. Had I been wanting this all along? Because this kiss felt like a relief sweeping over me. Over Zion, too. I felt Bailey's tongue teasing at my lips, and I parted my lips, allowing her tongue access to my mouth. Meeting it with my own tongue, teasing and playing as we deepened our kisses. Shocks and shivers of delight and desire coursed through my body at Bailey's touch. The teasing of her tongue against mine, the softness of her plump lips against mine. My hands slipped around her waist to hold her closer to me. The curves of her body fitted perfectly against my own, having an effect on me I hadn't expected. My head felt light as my heart pounded within my chest as Bailey pulled back from our kisses. Though she still kept her hands within my hair, her forehead rested on my own. "Asher?" she gasped, sounding as breathless as I was feeling. I don't think I could speak. I'm not quite sure what had happened. This was not something I had expected to happen between us. "You took my advice." Zion chuckled, sounding smug, but the sense of contentment in him was something else. "I don't think I have felt that since Isla, and that terrified me." "What are we doing?" Bailey whispered shakily. I chewed my lower lip anxiously. I thought her words over. Did she mean she hadn't wanted that? She felt like she did. My head was spinning now. I have now felt how good her lips felt on mine. I don't know if I would want to let her go now. I raised my gaze to meet hers. "I don't know, but it felt good," I whispered back.